I'm Amy Kardash, the president of the Entrust Center for Theological Schools, and I trust you had a full, encouraging, engaging first day yesterday. Thank you for that. If this Pathways gathering were a race, we'd be at the halfway mark. And the halfway mark is always a good time to check in with ourselves. So how are we feeling? Okay, that's not good. How are we feeling? Good? We're feeling good? Great. Everything moving at the right pace? Adequate fueling? Tech support holding up? That's a shameless plug for the app, where you'll find all the information for the agenda for today. Are your teammates feeling in rhythm with one another? There's a lot to learn over the course of a race, and that learning influences the next leg. And so we invite you to think about, what do you want to get out of today, the second leg? What are your goals? And we're going to keep the pace going and continue the focus on peer learning today. And we're going to begin in a little bit of a different way, and we're going to give you some insights into our unique peer learning community, which is that of coordination. So the teams from ATS and the Entrust Center are going to be facilitated by our colleague Matt Huffman, and we're going to talk a little bit about some signs of impact and change that we've experienced through coordination, and we're going to be asking you to participate throughout. So I know each of you have a phone or a tablet or a laptop, so in the next few minutes, if you'll access that, because we're going to have you engage throughout the session. And then we'll continue the peer learning later this morning, focusing on those sessions that'll be about data, those analyzing the race sessions, or the strength training sessions where you'll work on capacity building, and the cross-training sessions where you'll be assessing gaps. And then after lunch, as Joanne teased out yesterday, we're going to move into peer learning around your strengths or your superpowers. And so that you can share those with others, but that you can also learn and leverage one another's strengths. And then there's focused team time and a closing plenary followed by dinner. So my invitation to you this morning is pace yourself and consider what you're going to need to go the distance today. And before I turn things over to Matt, it's my pleasure to invite my colleague, Frank Yamada, Executive Director at ATS, to come up and offer some words of welcome.
I'm Frank Yamada. I am the 6th Executive Director of the Association of Theological Schools and the Commission on Accrediting. ATS's mission is to promote the improvement and enhancement of theological schools to the benefit of communities of faith and the broader public. I wanted to bring welcome again to the second day of the Pathways for Tomorrow conference. And it's good to see all of you, and it seems like you got some good team time in yesterday and some good rest and some good nourishment. I also wanted to give some Thanksgiving. Wanted first to the Lilly Endowment. This is staggering to me. This is such a moment for theological schools. I know there's a lot of transitions, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of challenges in our environment. But it is possible, if not probable, by the end of this calendar year, that the Lilly Endowment will have granted to ATS accredited schools and supporting organizations over $500 million to stimulate the faithful changes that all of you, I think that's worthy of applause. I was doing some quick math, and it's if we were just to take all of those resources and programs that are supported by those resources and kind of distribute that evenly among all of the just over 280 member schools, that is about $2 million of resource for change and faithful change to each school. That's amazing. So our thanks to the Lilly Endowment, to the leadership there in the religion division, to Chris Coble, who is not able to be here, also to Tito Madrazo for his faithful partnership in this coordination program. I also wanted to give thanks on behalf of the member schools of ATS to the team, the coordination team. A lot of work goes into putting on these conferences. And before we hear from them on the panel, I think it's really appropriate that we offer some Thanksgiving to the coordination team who has fostered and supported your learning communities within this coordination program. So thank you to the ATS and Entrust team. Theological schools are in the middle of what I've been calling the Great Transition. I outlined 4 elements of this transition, which correspond to the 4 strategic priorities, or the current 4 strategic priorities of ATS's current strategic plan. The first, leadership transitions. What have we heard about these in the last day and a half? We are seeing an unprecedented number of transitions in the senior leadership in theological schools. So between 2017 and 2024, over 600 transitions among the CEOs and CAOs at ATS member schools. Second, schools are seeking, not always successfully, to innovate their business and organizational models. I think this is clear indication that the current financial and organizational models of theological schools and theological education are not sustainable. The third, schools are adapting their educational models. There has been a creative burst within the last 5 or 6 years from theological schools with multiple modalities, including online education in many forms, competency-based models, and a Pentecost-like proliferation of theological education in Spanish, Korean, Chinese, and other languages. I think such a creative burst is also unprecedented in the history of the association. This is our way of thinking of how schools are trying to bend their historical missions to meet this moment. And the fourth, schools are serving an increasingly diverse student population whom the founders of a seminary could not have imagined this at the school's founding. These are big transitions that are happening among us folks. So again, our Thanksgiving to the Lilly Endowment for a project such as this, an initiative such as this in the Pathways for Tomorrow. And we're going to hear from a panel in just a couple of minutes that will explore the impact of Pathways on theological education as schools seek to proactively and creatively foster faithful change as they live into their diverse missions. So we have a panel of from the leadership of our coordination program who will engage this topic.